Hi.
Hello.
Nice job. Hi. Welcome to Fun and Friends. I am Avalon.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Jasmine. And just a recap of last chapter.
Which was really long, by the way.
That was
like a 40-minute episode.
They probably could have split into two separate chapters with how much
there was
information was in there.
Yeah.
So, anyway, obviously Agatha felt betrayed, so they weren't really on talking terms, and Tedros and Sophie started publicly hanging out, which did not
go
well to the Evers and Nevers.
Nope.
And without having Agatha whispering in as a cockroach in her ear, she was failing all of the pre-tests miraculously. So she's in a tough spot right now where she's definitely going to be in trials probably first. And
one of the professors is even trying to get her to not be in the actual trials.
Yeah,
they're trying
professors
to take her
were hoping to take her out to
because she's doing so horribly.
Prevent anything from happening, either her death or her starting a war. And at the end of the last chapter, Sophie gave her a little rose note saying, "I need you." Or
well, we don't know.
We think it is
Sophie.
She's assuming it's Sophie.
Yes.
And for the trials, Tedros and Sophie had made a plan to work with each other instead of against each other during these trials if they make it through this test period.
But with him ranking best and her ranking worse. They're going to get put in at different times.
Yeah.
3-hour gap.
So can Sophie survive 3 hours without
alone
Tedros?
In like this Death Woods, blue Death Woods, whatever.
Woods. Blue Woods or Blue Forest?
Blue Forest.
It's
Blue
Woods.
Yeah.
Blue Woods, I think.
Okay. All right, chapter 20.
Secrets and Lies. The cockroach darted into the floor of room 66 and nearly jumped from its shell. It gasped at the shattered mirror, noosed dresses, 3 sleeping witches, and scattered out before any of them saw her. But one of them did see the roach, and the swan on its stomach. Arachne whisking right and left, Agatha tracked Sophie's perfume down crooked stairs and dank halls, nearly succumbing to the shifty male roach along the way.
Lovely.
Until she found its source in the common room. The first thing she saw inside was shirtless Hort, face clenched red like a toddler on the toilet.
We've all seen that.
Yes.
A toddler clenching.
None of us are moms, but we've all babysat.
We're nannies or work with kids.
With the last grunt of effort, he peered down at his chest and 2 brand new hairs sticking out of it. Yeah, whose talent can beat that? On the next couch, Sophie buried her nose deeper into spellcasting for idiots.
Disclaimer, constipation does not lead to chest hairs, men.
It does not.
It's not. He heard 2 insect clicks and looked up urgently. Hort puffed his chest and winked. He turned in horror, then saw lipstick scrawled on the floor beside her couch. Bathroom. Bring clothes. Sophie despised the evil bathrooms, but at least they were a safe place to meet. Never seemed to have a phobia of toilets and avoided them entirely. She had no idea what prompted the fear or where they relieved themselves, but she preferred not to think about it. The door moaned as she slipped into the dim iron cell. 2 torches flickered on the rusted wall, elongating the shadows of stalls. As she crept towards the last one, slivers of pale skin peeked through iron slits. Clothes? Sophie slid them under the stall. The door opened and Agatha tramped out in Hort's frog pajamas, arms crossed. I don't have anything else, Sophie whispered. My roommate's hanged all mine. No one likes you these days, Agatha shot back, hiding her glowing finger. I wonder why. Look, I'm sorry. I couldn't just go home. Not when I finally got my prince. You got your prince. Well, it was mostly me. You said you wanted to go home. You said we're a team. That's why I helped you. We are a team, Agatha. Every princess needs a sidekick. Sidekick. Sidekick, Agatha shouted. Let's see how our heroine manages by herself. She broke away. Sophie grabbed her arm. I'm trying to kiss him, but he doubts me now. Let go. I need your help. And I won't give it, Agatha spat, elbowing past her. You're a liar, a coward, and a fraud.
Not wrong.
Not wrong. Then why did you even come? Sophie said, eyes welling. Watch out, crocodile tears mean crocodile wrinkles, Agatha sneered from the door. Please, I'll do anything, Sophie blubbered. Agatha swiveled. Swear you'll kiss him first chance you get. Swear on your life. I swear, Sophie cried. I want to go home. I don't want them to kill me. Agatha stared at her. Huh? Complete with voices and gestures, Sophie hysterically replayed the faculty meeting, failed challenges, and fight with Tedros. We're getting too close to the end, Sophie, Agatha said, now ghost white. Someone always dies in the end of a fairy tale. What do we do now? Sophie squeaked. You win the trial and kiss Tedros the moment you do. But I can't survive. I have 3 hours alone without Tedros protecting me. You won't be alone, Agatha grumbled. I won't? You have a fairy god roach under your collar, conjuring you out of trouble. Only this time, if you don't kiss your prince on cue, I'll curse you with every evil spell I know. I know until you do. Sophie threw her arms around her. Oh, Agatha, I'm a terrible friend, but I'll have my whole life to make it up to you.
At least she admits she's a terrible friend. That is the first step.
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
Because she doesn't know how to say what she wants to get what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Go, Agatha whispered. I need to mortify. Sophie gave her a last hug and a glow with relief, snuck from the bathroom, and back to Hort's protection. A minute later, a cockroach followed and dashed for the stairwell. Neither noticed a red tattoo smoldering through the shadows. Pure traditions. There were no classes the day before the trial. Instead, the 15 ever and never...
Can I just... The red tattoo, didn't that have to do with something with, from the room that had the pen? Or no? The writing pen?
I don't actually
Wasn't there like a red glow in there too?
I don't remember.
No, okay.
You're probably right. I just don't remember.
In our defense, this was a couple months ago, guys.
I'm pretty sure that it was Hester,
okay,
not Hester,
Annabelle.
Annabelle.
Someone's watching.
Because she had the dragon.
Yeah.
And she had the
somebody
dragon.
saw the cockroach in the room. So.
Yeah. She has the dragon tattoo that comes off and becomes a dragon.
Okay.
Instead of 15 ever and 15 nevers, challengers were given time to scout the Blue Forest. There we go. Blue Forest. So while unpicked students worked on circus talents, Sophie followed Tedros through the gates, keenly aware of the chill between them. Though the rest of the grounds had fallen prey to the slow autumnal death, the Blue Forest glistened lush as ever in the midday sun. All week, the students had tried to wheedle out of their teachers what obstacles the challengers would face, but they professed ignorance. The schoolmaster designed the trial in secret, giving professors only the power to secure its borders. Teachers couldn't even watch the contest since he cast a veiling spell over the Blue Forest for the whole night. The schoolmaster forbids our interference, Professor Devi mumbled to her class, clearly distraught. He prefers trials to simulate the dangers of the woods beyond beyond reason or responsibility. But as the competitors crowded into the forest beyond, Sophie and Tedros, none of them could believe that a night from now, a beautiful playground could turn into a hellish gauntlet. Together, the evers and nevers herded past the sparkling fronds of the fern woods, snacking possums in the pine glen, the blue brook trembling with trout, before they remembered they were enemies and split up. Tedros shoved past Sophie. Follow me. I'll go on my own, she said softly. I haven't earned your protection. Tedros turned. Beatrix said you cheated to get a number 1. Is that true? Of course not. Then why did you fail all the pre-trial challenges? Tears pearled Sophie's eyes. I wanted to prove I could survive without you, so you'd be proud of me. Tedros startled at her. You lost on purpose? She nodded. You are insane, he exploded. The nevers, they'll kill you. You risked your life to prove I'm good, Sophie sniffled. I'm willing to fight for you too. For a moment, Tedros looked like he might clobber her. Then the red seeped from his cheeks, and he grabbed her in his arms. When I come through those gates, promise you'll be there. I promise, Sophie wept. For you, I promise. Tedros gazed into her eyes. Sophie puckered her perfectly glossed lips. You're right. You should explore on your own, her prince said, pulling away. You need to feel confident in there without me, especially after losing so many challenges. But stay away from Nevers, all right? I squeezed her hand and sprinted to catch up with the Everboys in the pumpkin patch. Chadwick's sharp voice echoed, "Still a villain, mate. Won't be getting special treatment from us." Sophie didn't hear Tedros' response. She stood alone in the silent glen under the blue mistletoe tree. "We're still here," she grouched. "Maybe if you had delivered my lines like I said them," the roach retorted under her collar. 3 hours alone isn't so bad, Sophie sighed. I mean, Nevers can't use non-approved spells. All we can do is start a storm or turn into a sloth. What could they possibly do to me? Something grazed her head. She whipped around and saw a gnash on the oak trunk right where she was standing. Impish Vex straddled a branch above her, sharp stick in hand. "Just curious to see how tall you were," Vex said. Doughy, bald Barone waddled in from another oak and checked the mark. "Yeah, she'll fit." Sophie gasped at them. "Like I said," Vex said, waggling her pointy ears. "Just curious." "I'm gonna die," Sophie wailed as she fled the forest. "Not with me here," Agatha said, pinches curled. "I beat them in your classes and I'll beat them again tomorrow. Just focus on getting the kiss." Something smacked her in the head. "What in the—" Agatha looked down at a dead roach in the grass. 4 more landed beside it. Slowly, Sophie and Agatha craned up to see evil towers billowing pink mist, dead insects raining off balconies into the clearing. "What's going on?" Sophie said. "Extermination," a voice answered. Sophie turned to Hester, arms folded against the forest gates. "Apparently they've been running around our school at night. Couldn't have the risk of plague, of course, after your friend was sick." Hester picked a thrashing bug off her shoulder. "Besides, a good reminder to anyone that tries to go where they don't belong, don't you think?" She licked the roach into her mouth and glided back to the forest, leaves crunching under her feet. Sophie gasps. "Do you think she knows you're a roach?" "Of course she knows, you idiot!"
Love it.
Nevers' voices neared the forest. "Go," Agatha hissed, scrambling down Sophie's leg. "We can't meet again." "Wait, how do I survive the trial?" But Agatha had vanished into the good tunnel, leaving Sophie to fend for herself. With the fairies doing curfew inspections from the first floor up, Agatha had just enough time to sneak into the breezeways and cross to Valor. Like all the teachers, Sadler's bedchamber adjoined the study. Break its lock, she could surprise him in his bed. She didn't care if the creep didn't want to answer questions. She'd tie him to his bed if she had to.
Love
It's getting a little kinky up in here. Agatha knew it was
I knew you had to take a double take when I read that line and I heard you. Like, yeah.
I was like, wait, am I reading this right? Yeah, I am reading this right. Okay, I guess we're doing this.
See, I remember
Alright.
he's a teacher or a professor, I believe, so I
Yeah.
just assumed she wants answers.
Yeah.
I was having a moment when he started saying,
Me
"I'm going to
too.
sneak
Not
into his
my
bed
fault y'all
chambers."
were in a gutter. It's a kid's book. Get your mind out of the
Well,
book.
it's been not so kid-like so far,
It's a very dark
so.
kid's book.
Agatha knew it was a terrible plan, but what choice did she have? She couldn't sneak into their trial now, and Sophie would never last for 3 hours. Sadler was their last hope to get home. The stairs led right to his study and the lone door on Valor's 6th floor. There was a stream of raised blue dots across its marble. Agatha ran her finger over them. "No students allowed on this floor," boomed Sadler's voice. "Return to your room immediately." Agatha grabbed the doorknob and pointed her glowing finger at the lock. The door creaked open on its own. Sadler wasn't inside, but he hadn't been gone long. The sheets in his bedroom were rumpled, the tea on his desk warm. Agatha... Yeah, I know, I was just curious. Now you made me stop. I was doing so good. Agatha sulked around his study, its shelves, chairs, floor, all suffocated with books. The desk was buried 3 feet under them, and a few open on top of a pile.
Sounds like my bedroom.
Yep.
Dude, I have so many, I have like an unread pile, and it has overflowed from like my desk to my dresser to my floor.
But you started Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yes.
Lines of colorful dots highlighted by prickling silver stars in the margins. She swept her hand across one of the marked lines, and a misty scene exploded out of the book to a woman's sharp voice. A ghost cannot rest until it has fulfilled its purpose. For that, it must use the body of a seer. Agatha watched a scraggly ghost crash into the body of a bearded man before the mist cycloned back into the page. She touched the scarred lines to the next book. In a seer's body, a spirit may last only seconds before both seer and spirit will be destroyed. Before her eyes, 2 floating bodies merged, then crumpled to dust. She ran her fingers across the scarred lines. Only the strongest seers can host a spirit. More seers die before the ghost ever takes hold. Agatha grimaced. What was his obsession with seer? Her heart stopped. Prophecy, said the teachers. Could Sadler see the future? Could he see if they got home? Agatha. Professor Dovey gasped through the doorway. Sadler's alarm. I thought it was a roach, a student out of bed after curfew. Sorry. I was just thinking of Filch. There's a student out of bed.
Where's your little cat?
Agatha scurried past her for the stairs. 2 weeks cleaning toilets, her teacher squawked. Agatha glanced back to see Professor Dovey sweep her hands over Sadler's books with a frown. She caught Agatha watching and magically slammed the door. That night, both girls dreamt of home. Sophie dreamt she was fleeing Hester through pink fog. She tried to scream Agatha's name, but a roach crawled from her mouth instead. At last, she found a stone wall and swam to the bottom, only to find herself in Galveston. She felt strong arms, and her father carried her to the house, which smelled of meat and milk. She needed the toilet, but she took her to the kitchen, where a pig hung with a gleaming hook. A woman drummed red nails on the counter. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Mother? Sophie cried. Before the woman could turn, her father kissed Sophie good night, opened the oven, and threw her in.
Wow.
Wow, dream.
Sophie woke with a jolt, so hard she smashed her head in the wall and knocked herself out. Agatha dreamt of Galveston was on fire. A trail of burning black dresses led up Graves Hill, and when she got to the top, she found a grave instead of her house. She heard sounds from within and started digging, hearing voices now nearer, until she woke to them next door. You said it was important, Tedros barked. The Nevers said she cheats with Agatha, Beatrix said. Sophie's not friends with Agatha. Agatha's a witch. They both are. Agatha turns into a cockroach to give her answers. A cockroach? You're not just petty and jealous. You're completely insane. They're both villains. Teddy, they're using you. You're the one listening to Nevers. You know why Sophie lost those challenges. She wants to keep me safe. That's why. If that's a villain, then what are you? With wind rumpling her curtains, Agatha couldn't hear the rest, but soon the door thumped and Tedros trounced away. Agatha tried to go to sleep, but found herself staring at the pink paper flower shivering on the marble night table like a rose on a grave. She yelped, clobbered by the idea. All the rooms in the hall looked dark except for the trial Evers, who were staying up until dawn to prepare for the following night. In her lace nightgown, Agatha tiptoed barefoot up to the pink glass stairs, pinned forward for fairies or teachers. 5 floors down, Tedros glared up at her through the spiral gap, suddenly wondering if Beatrix had told her the truth. Leaving his boots at the bottom, he followed Agatha through the breezeway to Honor's 4th floor, accompanied entirely by Library of Virtue. Crouching in knee-high black socks, he peeked in to see her disappear into the gold coliseum of books, 2 stories high and impeccably kept by a leathery tortoise. Fast asleep in a titanic library fog, feathered pen in hand. As soon as Agatha found what she needed, she sneaked out past the reptile and the prince, who failed to get a glimpse of the book in her hands. Her steps diminished in a sea blue breezeway soon she was gone. Tedros clenched his teeth. What murderous plan did the witch have? Was Sophie in on it and planning to betray him? Were 2 villains still friends? The prince lurched to his feet, heart thundering, then heard an odd scratching sound. Turning, he saw the feathery pen magically start writing in the turtle's log and fell back to the snoring creature's hand. Eyes narrowed, he moved in to peer at the log. Flower power. Plant charms for a happier world. Agatha, Purity, 51. Tedros snorted, berating himself for doubting his princess. He went to retrieve his boots.
It's just heavy on this side, so
Okay.
it comes up more.
The rules of the trial by tale were few and precise. At the moment the sun went down, the first 2 challengers would enter the Blue Forest. Every 15 minutes another 2 would enter according to the pre-trial ranks, until the last pair entered more than 3 hours after the first. Once inside, Nevers could attack Evers with their talents and any spell learned in class, while Evers could defend themselves with any approved weapons or counter spells. The schoolmaster's conjures would hurt them both. There were no other rules. It was the challenger's duty to recognize mortal danger and drop the enchanted handkerchief the moment it touched the ground. He would be removed from the trial. Upon the first glimpse of sunrise, the wolves could call the end of whoever returned through the gates would be named the winner. There had never been more than one. Quite often there were none at all. Winter arrived with nodding timing, blowing glacial gusts into the clearing just as the challengers entered. Everboys each carried a blue kite-shaped shield matching their navy cloak and single weapon. Most had chosen bows and arrows, blunted by Professor Espada to stun rather than to injure. Though Chadwick and Tedros had opted for heavy training swords, nearby Evergirls quietly practiced their animal calls and tried to look as helpless as possible so boys would take them under their wing.
Wow.
Across the field, the trial Nevers hunched against bare trees in their cloaks, eyeing unchosen students crowded in from the tunnels. The unpicked Evers were ready for a slumber party with pillows, blankets, baskets of spinach mousselines, creamy chicken crepes, bell pepper skewers, elderflower custard, and pitchers of cherry grenadine. Meanwhile, the unpicked Nevers hovered near their tunnel in slippers and nightcaps, ready to flee at their team's first sign of humiliation. While the wolves passed out the enchanted silk handkerchiefs, white for Evers, red for Nevers, Castor and Pollux lined up the competitors in order at their entrance. Because they fared worse in pre-trial challenges, Sophie and Kiko would enter exactly at sundown. Bron and Tristan would enter 15 minutes later, then Vex and Rena 15 minutes after that, and the pairs would continue until Hester and Tedros entered last. At the back of the line, the prince took his white handkerchief from the wolf. "Won't be needing this," he muttered, and stuffed it in his boot. At the front of the line, Sophie clenched her red kerchief, ready to drop it the moment she entered. She wished she had paid more attention during the fitting. Her tunic drooped at the bosom, the cloak dragged into the ground, and the blue hood fell far over her face. It looked like she had no hair. How could she even think about clothes? Frantic, she scanned the crowd. No sign of Agatha. "We've had rumors that unqualified students may try to sneak into the trial," Pollux said, next to Castor, an imposing 2-headed shadow in the waning light. "This year we've taken extra precautions." At first, Sophie thought he was referring to the wolves guarding every inch of the gate, but then Castor lit a torch and she saw the gates were no longer made of gold, but giant black and red spiders, crisscrossing magically with stingers poised. Her heart sank. How could she sneak Agatha in now? If anyone cheats, they deserve to die. She turned. And I don't put it past any of those villains," Tedros said, golden cheeks ready with the cold. He took her hand, still gripping her kerchief. "You can't, Sophie. You can't drop it." Without Agatha feeding lines, Sophie just nodded helplessly. "When we team up, they'll do anything to take one of us out. Evers, Nevers, Schoolmaster too," said the prince. "We have to protect each other. I need you to have my back." Sophie nodded. "And you don't have anything to say?" "Kiss for luck," she squeaked. "In front of the whole school?" Tedros cocked a smile. "That's the idea." Sophie lit up and thrust her lips with relief. "A long one," she sighed, "just in case." Oh, I'll give you a long one, he grinned, when we win, right before I carry you to the good castle. Sophie gagged. But suppose we don't? Tedros gently pulled the red silk from her trembling fingers. We're good, Sophie, he said, tucking it deep in her coat pocket, and good always wins. In his clear blue eyes, Sophie saw Hester reflected behind her, hood lowered like a grim reaper. In a flash, the wolves shoved her and Kiko to opposite ends of the north gate. Harry Spires hissed in her face, and she lost her breath. Panicked, her eyes lurched at the schoolmaster tower, lording over the forest. In the last shred of sun, she could see his silhouette watching from the window. Sophie whipped around looking for Agatha to save her, but all she saw was the sky dark over the forest. From the schoolmaster's tower came a blast of silver sparks that veiled the forest in a blurring haze. First pair ready, Castor boomed. No, wait! Paws grabbed Sophie from behind and flung her into the spiders. Hundreds of furry pincers probed her skin as she screamed. Clicking with permission, they magically parted, leaving her alone in the forest torchlit threshold. Wolves howled, spiders sealed behind her. The trial had begun.
Dun, dun, dun.
My goodness.
Well, it's getting interesting.
Yep,
It is
she's
now.
all by herself.
I wonder how she's gonna do.
What do you think?
She's gonna die.
She's gonna die.
I think she's just gonna barely make it.
Either she's gonna barely make it, or I think this is a good opportunity for like true colors to show. Where like, you know, she does try, but then when it comes to make or break, when she gets really evil, when she, like how she did things in class, like
Yeah.
when push comes to shove, she does things she doesn't realize she does because she's in a pure rage.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's just how she is,
Mhm.
and she doesn't realize it.
Yep.
So.
Which hopefully means Tedros might see her true colors by the end of the trials.
Exactly, and then he may not end up helping her, and he may turn on her to actually like hurt her.
I don't think he'll turn on her. I think it's one of those things where like other people will probably get to her because they'll be more focused on trying to win. Because someone has to win the trials.
Yeah.
Well, they said they don't have to win.
Yeah,
Everyone
it could be everyone loses. So I guess another point is maybe two people could be the last one standing, and they might lose together by dropping their handkerchiefs. Like, who knows?
Maybe. So many outcomes could happen.
I know.
What do you guys think? Put the comments below, and we'll kind of talk about it in the next episode.
I wonder also who like ratted out the possible help thing, just because they wanted to prevent Sophie from
Hester. I think Hester found out, which is why we saw that tattoo, and that's she was the one who said, which is why they put the spiders.
Yeah.
So even if Agatha did feel guilty and come back to try to help even after the threat of the cockroach poison, like,
they really could not help.
Yeah.
Right. Spiders.
I know. Could you imagine giant spiders and having to push past them to get in?
No.
Just imagine Hagrid's pet.
I'd be like, nope.
Or like that, what was it? I think in the Chamber of Secrets, or no, out in the woods. There's like a little spider. That's what you're.
Yeah, or Shelob. Shelob from Lord of the Rings. Shelob.
But I know. I think this kind of goes to show because I think Agatha is the kind of person where she would have still helped even if she was upset. But I feel like even though she knows Agatha couldn't help, Sophie's still gonna get mad at her for not helping.
Have that expectation,
despite all of the reasons she couldn't even get into the trials. You know?
Yeah, she'll find someone else to blame but herself.
Yep.
She's very good at using people.
Sure is.
Yep.
Alright, well, let us know what you guys think about everything down below, and we'll discuss in the next episode. We look forward to it. Also, follow our Instagram, Fun and Friends. We do have updates on there quite often and some behind-the-scenes pictures. And we hope you enjoyed those, and then we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.